welcome to Current Affairs. My name is Nathan Robinson. I am the editor-in-chief of Current Affairs magazine, and I am joined today by the great Francesca Fiorentini. She is the host of America Unhinged, co-host of America Unhinged on Zateo, the great Zateo, friend of Current Affairs, Mehdi Hassan's wonderful new outlet, recruiting all the best people. And every week I see him announcing some new collaboration between people I love. And also the host of the Bitchuation Room. Francesca, welcome to Current Affairs. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Nathan, thank you so much for having me. Yeah. What a time. What a time.
Yes.
Good to be on. I'm glad we're hashing these important issues out.
Well, I had Sam and Emma of the Majority Report on last week. I had Crystal and Kyle on, and I wanted to talk to you because I feel as if there's a diminishing number of people who I regard as sane. I put you in that sort of diminishing category.
Thank you. I mean, the bar is low. You know, sane is here. But also, to be sane in an insane world is the definition of insanity. That is a quote that I don't know to whom to attribute, but
okay. So yes, well then we are the radical unhinged left contingent. But internally, I regard us as people who actually perceive the way the world is and who are trying to cling to reality in defiance of the forces that are encroaching upon us.
yeah.
You go on Piers Morgan a lot. God bless you for doing it, because when you
Someone's
go
gotta
on,
bless me.
when you go on Piers Morgan, and I've seen you describe this as like you're often fighting with like 3 MAGA lunatics at once.
Yeah. Yeah, and they rarely let me interject. In fact, this is a fun little prop that I have in my studio here. So I was prepared for the next time because I get just summarily interrupted, and I never actually allowed to finish a thought. So I just am going to hold this up the next time they interrupt me.
Nice.
If you're listening, it's a Trump killed Epstein sign.
I saw you eat a cat on there once. You've used creative methods to try and break through.
Oh yeah, you have to. And you know, I do stand-up comedy, and so as a comic, it's like it really is the Maury Povich or the Jerry Springer of political debate. It's great that they actually have progressive or left voices on. He does. But it's all for show. It's just kind of cage match while, it's a version of Squid Game, right? And so you have to take a piss out of it, because if you take it seriously, or like you're really going to get a point across, the audience is right wing. He says it's not, but they are. You can try to get a few points in, but really you got to dunk. You got to make it fun, and it has to be worthwhile for me, because it truly is like an hour of my day that I'm never going to get back.
Well, he's very strange, Piers Morgan, because at times he seems like a moderately sensible person, and then, I say at times, I'm not saying he is, but he sometimes seems like a person who is, and he certainly postures as a person who is curious. He has more of the leftists that I respect on his show than anyone on MSNBC or CNN has.
Sadly, I know.
You're on, Norma Finkelstein's on, like he doesn't get on anywhere, and Piers Morgan will have him on for 45 minutes and let him speak a little bit. Is it just, my theory of this is that he has so few values, like he's such an amoral person who cares only about showmanship, that kind of paradoxically leads to him having a wider range of voices on, because it's better for ratings.
I mean, what's hard about that is that they'll pair someone as smart as Norman, and then Norm, right? And they'll like pair him with somebody who's just like a right-wing influencer, right? So it's like it's disrespectful to the intellect of some of the people that he has on. So you're always on, and you're like, wait a minute, am I just another clown? Because it really does feel like this is just a fight amongst clowns. And so again, to that end, given someone who like is a clown, I can play the clown card, but I can also like, make a point. But I do think, Piers himself used to be a journalist. So for him, I think there's a real question of, is this actually all for show? Is it all fake? And you actually know that you're just doing this for clicks, and but and you know that where your bread is buttered, which is getting people like Andrew Tate, sex trafficker, on your show to get those clicks. You know, or is he actually just an avowed right winger who sort of postures himself as Bill Maher, like, oh, I'm liberal on, you know, social issues, even though he's not liberal on social issues. No. He's a raging transphobe. No. And he's proven that over and over again. And so, yes, what I will say is Fox will have leftists on, usually unserious people, although I know some folks who've gone on who are great, but usually unserious who can be straw men. Tucker Carlson would do this all the time. You're the straw man. No one's ever heard of this person. They're on there doing like, you know, random pseudo left talking points just so he can sort of dunk on them. So at least Piers actually gets folks who are in their own right, you know, respected.
I know it's a very strange thing. You know, you say he's a former journalist, but let's be honest, he's a former British tabloid journalist, which whether that meets the bar of being a journalist is questionable. And in the British tabloid world, there is a kind of paradox where, you know, your job is to report things that are true, but also they are kind of infamous for their willingness to put any headline up in order to sell papers.
Yeah, no, my husband and I will do like a running bit of we'll just be two like tabloid British journalists. Like, it's usually an old lady, it's a little Monty Python, but it's, look at her, she's all fat, and we're just talking about the cat, like, she's let herself go, really. Like, that's our voice. Yeah, they are the worst people. They really were. Like, they will destroy your life if it gets them clicks. They're the original clickbait is British tabloid media.
I suppose that it is impossible for us to successfully psychoanalyze Piers Morgan, who I don't understand. I haven't reached the bottom, and I don't think anyone can, and you can't, and I can't, of what is actually going on in his brain. I think a more interesting question is about these kinds of platforms and whether we as leftists can do anything with them, because you and I are both we have the same job. I mean, you describe yourself as a comedian, but you are a comedian with a serious purpose, right? Yeah. You care about, you have values, and we are trying to advance a left message in the world. And when you go on this program, and spend, as you say, an hour of your day, you are not just doing it because it's fun, because I don't think it is fun. It doesn't look fun. You must have decided that it is on balance better that there is something that can be accomplished for left messaging by strategically using the kind of couple minutes that you get on these things.
Yes. I mean, really, honestly, Nathan, it's about dunking on them, stepping to them, making fun of them to their faces. I was on with Deborah Birx, the woman who helped whitewash Donald Trump's COVID response. She was one of the, you know, other than Dr. Fauci, she was up there saying that Trump is very good with numbers and he really understands everything. This woman is now out here saying that RFK Jr. is a good pick for HHS secretary, continuing to spout lies about comorbidities and how many people were sick before they got COVID. And it really wasn't the COVID, it was the diabetes that killed them and things like this. So never will you get a chance to step to that person. And really, again, you look at any of the comments, his audience hates me. They think that I am insane. They troll me. I
did look and they do hate.
Oh, they despise me. And so the idea is really just clipping it and putting it on my social media to give a little bit of, you know, oomph and like, you know, like fanfare for our side to like say, look, we can step to these people. We should. Here's what I did. We don't always, and this is what I hate about debate culture. You don't always have to go into a debate in good faith, because look at the entire right-wing movement as it is. Look at the Republican Party. Look at what Elon is doing. Do you think anything that he's doing, going after government waste, is in good faith? Of course it's not. It's all a ploy to funnel money from the poor to the rich. It's a reverse Robin Hood, and that's all he's doing, and he wants government contracts in the meantime, and he's received them. So, like, why should I try to, in good faith, debate with folks and come to the table and break bread and treat them seriously, especially when, you know, they have horribly reactionary opinions about me, my body, and whether I have full civil rights. So no, fuck that.
Right. Well, but at the same time, I think you may underrate what you yourself are doing here, because I think that you say, you're not operating in good faith, but I think that you do come to these things determined to, emphatically represent the left's position on things and not back down and not give an inch and and explain as best you can with the limitations that you have why there is another point of view, why the things that are being spoken by these people are abject lunacy, why they're not grounded in sound research and science, why I think your job is in part to, and it is a kind of good faith because you're quite honest about what you're doing. There's no level of dishonesty as there is with someone like Elon Musk.
I guess you're absolutely right. It's not about, I guess maybe good faith is the wrong word, but more like in, with some amount of magnanimousness or like, sort of like, I'm trying to hear you out and listen to you and come to an agreement. No, you're there to spar and argue your point. And also, I do think that part of the reason we're in this moment that we're in is because the media and Democrats have taken the right so seriously and so and I, of course, I'm not someone who says don't believe Project 2025 or don't believe, I fully say, believe them when they tell you who they are and the salutes that they, throw up. But I also think that the idea that you can just build a wall on the southern border, and that would be a super normal thing to do. The media normalized that rather than mocked it and made fun of it, right? And that, this is illegal. This would involve land grab. This would involve federal land, this would, all the things. And instead we treat every right-wing idea like it's this precious little, wow, what's everyone else going to say? No. They're clowns and their ideas should be treated as such. And so I just feel like we consistently forfeit, where the center is on anything or where the, honestly, like logic is on anything by capitulating to right-wing framing. And we've done that for, definitely since Trump's been running.
Hi, sorry to interrupt, but if you like this video, please subscribe to this channel for more wonderful current affairs material in the future. And head to currentaffairs.org/subscribe to our beautiful print magazine today. I mean, the example that comes to mind when you say this is when I was talking to Sam and Emma about Doge, and there is a temptation that some have succumbed to say, well, of course I support the mission of Doge, but it's not really doing the thing. Like, Ro Khanna said, we should find government saving, we should reduce spending, and let's kind of say we're on board with the Doge mission, but we have these critiques. Whereas your approach is, this is a fraud by a plutocrat who is trying to redistribute money from the bottom to the top. Let's be clear about that. Let's be honest. Let's not concede anything here. They don't concede anything. They never. The rights tactic is to never. You give them an inch, they go, oh well, we'll take it. Thank you very much. Now we'd like more. Right? If you're conciliatory with them, they still call you socialist, Islamist, transgender, woke Marxists who are trying to destroy civilization.
Apparently, Joe Biden was.
Oh yeah, Joe Biden. Right, Joe Biden is a radical communist. Right. You can't meet them halfway, because if you meet them halfway, they're going to just denounce you more because they're going to sense weakness.
Yes. No, and it's interesting when you say about weakness. They also, Fox News has picked their, obviously, nemesis for years now. They're very clear about what kind of ideas they want to go after and the people they want to go after. And the reason they do that is not dissimilar to the reason that Piers Morgan will have actual leftists and progressives on. It's because they know what a good fight looks like. It's because they know what an interesting radical idea, even if they disagree with it, would look like. It's good for entertainment and it's good for sort of political discussion and debate. So what do? They talk about the Green New Deal. Democrats walk away from it. They talk about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Democrats don't support her, right? They identify, again, I hate to break it down in these sort of crass terms, but almost like stars of the Democrats, the left, stars in terms of ideological stars. Like, here are things like really engaging with the Green New Deal and having to defend it rather than having the right paint the entire narrative that somehow we did a Green New Deal already and it didn't work.
Yes. Oh, it
right?
destroyed the country, actually.
It just destroyed the country, and everyone was forced to
We
give up
did
their
it.
gas stoves.
They took away your gas stove. They wrecked the country with their Green New scam.
Green New scam. There you go. Thank you, Nathan.
But you know, that's Kamala Harris famously kind of walked away from a lot of progressive policies, right? So Donald Trump did that Republican move of saying, well, you know, you enacted all this socialism and you wrecked the country with socialism, and her kind of response to that was not to say, excuse me, the climate crisis is the most serious peril facing humanity in our time. And if you don't take it seriously, you are out of touch with reality. And we didn't do a Green New Deal, but we need a Green New Deal, and we need it urgently.
Yep.
Now, that is the message that is the correct response. I think you would agree to that. But what she did is, no, we support an all-of-the-above energy approach. We like fossil fuels. We like fossil fuels.
No, and you know what's interesting about Kamala Harris, and I know you've spoken about this before, and I do think it's important to have honest discussions about her candidacy and obviously Joe Biden's. I know we're in this perilous, awful, fascistic moment, but if we have any hope of getting out of it or controlling and embracing and capitalizing on the pendulum swing that we hope comes after this to truly radically transform this country, not just back to where it was before Trump and Elon broke everything, but in a place that actually like prioritizes people over profits, humanity over corporations, on and on and on. We're going to have these conversations, and you're 100% right. Look, the Harris campaign, interestingly, embraced the worst parts of Biden's policies. She did like two horrible things. Number one, she said she would not really do anything different than Biden. That was a glaring moment.
No, she said she was asked directly, and she said,
was
"I
asked
can't
directly.
think of anything except I would put a Republican in my cabinet."
Exactly. But then, Nathan, if you're going to say that, well, then what are the policies that Biden did and that you oversaw as vice president that you do embrace? And so instead of controlling the narrative, to your point, and talking about the Inflation Reduction Act, talking about all the, you know, the infrastructure projects that it helped and the red states that, you know, it infused money into, on and on and on and on. And again, with the climate messaging that you so articulately laid out, like, she didn't even do that. And so here we have, obviously, the top line on a lot of people's minds is this ongoing genocide in Gaza. And instead of sort of, if you're not going to actually change on that issue, at least embrace the good things and remind Americans of the good things that the Biden administration did. And she didn't even do that. So it was like, that's what I'm saying, of the worst of both worlds. Like, you're not going to break with him, but you're also not going to herald the good things that he did that are now being dismantled by Trump. So it's like, it was so unclear and also very, let's be real, she's one of the first people to go out in the 2020 election, all right? The primary, Democratic primary. She's one of the first people out. Tulsi Gabbard lasted longer than her, and in part, it's because she was a chronic flip-flopper. I did a video, a story on it for Newsbroke back in 2020 when we were saying, how do you beat Trump? You got to beat Trump X, Y, and Z ways, and you have to be authentic. And we use Kamala Harris as an example of inauthenticity because of how within the span, I think if it was 2 weeks, she flip-flopped on her positions on universal health care, Medicare for all. And again, this is not to say she wouldn't be wildly better. And for the liberals who are listening who are mad at me, of course she's highly qualified and be so much better. But she truly doesn't know how to even communicate what she stands for. If not, doesn't seem like she actually stands for anything that is radically different than the status quo.
Now, we talked about how the Piers Morgan audience right doesn't like you.
Sure.
But importantly, they don't like her anymore. And I think one of the important things is that you don't get points by being conciliatory. Like, if you say, well, I'll abandon the progressive policies because look, they're mad at these. They call these communism and socialism. So clearly, I don't want to go near these controversial policies.
Yeah.
I mean, then they'll just go, well, you're a liar and a flip flopper, and you probably secretly still do support those policies. So you know, what I like about you, one of the things I really I'm so admiring about you is that you are a warrior. You are aggressive. You don't take shit. And you point out that we need that. Like, that's what they do. That's what
Yeah.
the right does. They don't care if people hate them. Trump doesn't care if people hate him. He relishes it. He has the what did Roosevelt say? Franklin Roosevelt said, "I welcome their hate." Right?
Yeah, did you remember, there's a moment that sticks out for me, Chris Cuomo, R.I.P. I mean, he's still fine, but Chris Cuomo had a really funny moment when he was approached in a restaurant by like two like MAGA, little douches who were like trying to like step to him.
Yeah,
And, and they were just kind of like, you're such a lib, and whatever they were saying to him, right? And because he's Italian, hey, no, he instead of being like, that's enough, thank you, please go away, didn't handle it like that, was not the bigger person. He was like, step to them, he was like, went full, I can say this because I'm Italian, he was like full Guido on him. And there was a moment where these little douches, as they were filming him, they said like, wow, I didn't expect that. Okay, man, like I respect you. Like there was a moment where they basically said, I respect you for stepping to me, and I didn't expect you to do that. And I think that actually so much of the Democrats, the fact that their brand is weak, the fact that they lose elections like this that should be won pretty easily, in my opinion, is also because of that demeanor of not willing to fight. And if they're not willing to fight the right and say, excuse me, that's not communism. In fact, that makes economic sense. Climate change is crushing all of us economically, on and on and on. Instead of stepping to them, they cower, they capitulate. And so as a voter, why would you have any reason that they would really fight for the things that they say they're going to fight for? So again, yes, we all, we have to grapple with what you said. What is very Trumpian, what is appealing about Trump is it seems like people think he'll go to the mat for them. Obviously, it's for the oligarchs. But Dems don't have that. And we see Jasmine Crockett, Representative Crockett, and Representative AOC, increasingly, I think, and Crockett is truly the breakout star of this moment, saying what needs to be said. Like, Elon can go fuck himself. Fuck off, is what she just said.
It's one reason that even people on the right respect Bernie Sanders, because he's willing to fight, he's willing to stand his ground and explain his positions. And I don't know if you saw, but we are not conspiracizing, or we are not treating Democrats unfairly by saying that they back down, that they roll over. And literally yesterday, the New York Times, James Carville, the leading Democratic strategist, published an op-ed in the New York Times, and he said, my recommendation for Democrats right now in this moment is to, and this is a quote, roll over and play dead. He said we need a strategic retreat. He said we should just let Trump implode and we shouldn't do anything. And he said, now this is, he said, but that will strike people as a sort of counterintuitive, but he said, actually, it's good strategy to do nothing. And he recommended rolling over and playing dead as the strategy.
No, I mean, that is, you know what? That is absolutely believable when you understand that James Carville will not be affected by anything that is happening right now. He's not a federal employee. He still gets to keep his, commentator jobs, unlike others from MSNBC and whatnot. He's comfortable. He's not on Medicaid. He might be on Medicare, who knows? But or Social Security. But so far they're not touching that. He's comfortable. And that's really easy to say when you're not in the crosshairs of fascism, right? When you're not on the streets, you're not sticking your neck out, you're not being deported, you're not in a hotel in Panama trying to, survive. Like, it's that is what's sick about it. What I do agree with Carville on, I know in the same interview he said there's going to be a massive backlash. I think there's going to be a backlash, but again, to what, right? It's like, you could have a backlash to another Biden. Hey, let's run Biden again. Hey, a dead Biden. Why not? Have a backlash to Biden. And then what comes next? Tucker Carlson comes next. JD Vance comes next. Why not run, someone as disgusting as Dan Bongino comes next, right? Like the guy who wants to be Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. Like that's what comes next. We have to think about, and this is what, since the election, I'm not even thinking about 2028. Like, I can't even imagine that election. I obviously think the right doesn't want that election, and they'll do everything in their power either to not have it or to completely rig it. But it's about, how are we building movements? How are we building communities? How are we actually like digging deep to, because no one's coming to save us, right? And so as someone who was radicalized in the anti-war movements when I was like 18, 19 against Iraq and Afghanistan and, the tail end of the global justice movement, I've been in this work a long time. I've been in this on the left a long time. And 2018, obviously, with the entrance of people like AOC, obviously Bernie in 2016, really changed my perspective on electoralism. But I think it's time to recalibrate. I think it's time to think back to social movements. It's time to think back to this outside pressure that we desperately need and we do not have in a way that I would have hoped maybe when I was an 18-year-old, that by the time I was 40, we would actually have something like this.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I'm feeling very re-radicalized by this moment as we have this desperate crisis of legitimacy here.
I think it's funny is that we need we need the life-affirming fighting spirit of the Italian people. Cuomo, Fiorentini, Mangione.
Exactly. Mangione. Well, I mean, Mangione is a perfect example, Mangione is a perfect example of like how far we've come when, what was it, 2010 that Michael Moore released Sicko, and it's like, it's 15 years later and people are like celebrating a guy who just like murked a CEO, and it's just wild to think that there's like folks out there who are supporting something like that, but that's the moment of desperation I think a lot of people feel like we're in.
And I don't know if you've I feel like an underreported story since Mangione is that the Wall Street Journal, since that happened, has been exposing massive Medicare billing fraud by United Health. Like, it turned out they were just stealing billions of dollars from all of us. Like, that guy that he killed, it was just a thief.
Who is this mole at the Wall Street Journal? Good on.
They still do some good corporate reporting. It's just that their op-ed page is full of fascists.
Well, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was the New York Times that ran an op-ed by United Health Care Group.
Yes.
So
yes, that was
we know things are broken. Oh, we're so sorry. They are. But and really the op-ed's conclusion was, but in the meantime, we're just going to make a lot of money, probably illegally.
Yes. They didn't promise to change any actual concrete thing. That's so New York Times, though. I mean, that is, they have always held this perspective of we need the diverse voices. We need to let the CEOs speak and let everyone have their say.
And it is. I did a special for MSNBC back in what year was it? 2019. All about healthcare in America, but we didn't talk about big pharma. We specifically talked about the ACA, private health insurance, and Medicaid, specifically Medicaid expansion. So it's very relevant now as the Republicans are trying to rescind Medicaid expansion, as if so many red states never took advantage of Medicaid expansion under the ACA, which again, the government pays for 90% of. Many folks could have been getting healthcare at this point. But in that entire thing, what we learned, because we tried to get an interview with, because of course it's MSNBC, they're like, let's hear from, the healthcare representatives. We tried to get an interview with anyone from the private insurance industry and they refused. And we know that the way they communicate with the public and the media is only through op-eds. Only op-eds. Why? Because no one's talking back at them. No one's asking them a hard question, not even. They're scared of New York Times journalists. They're scared of Wall Street Journal journalists. It's like even the most conservative journalists, they won't go on Fox News. You're not going to see a healthcare executive go on Fox News. Absolutely not. It is op-eds where they get their message out and then they, the curtain closes and Oz goes back, into hiding.
I think probably a lot of the people listening to and watching this, if they're through with us by this point, if they haven't turned it off, they're probably share our perspective that we live in very dark and bleak moment that gets darker and bleaker by the day, seemingly. Just today, Jeff Bezos announced that the Washington Post henceforth will no longer be publishing anything that is critical of the free market. He directed the op op-ed page to only publish pro-free market material. So we see, if you thought corporate propaganda was bad already, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And so that's why, the things that you do, I'd say the things that we do here at Current Affairs are so valuable because, as I say, there seems to be a kind of diminishing circle of people who are willing to be critical of and expose propaganda.
Yeah, because the class war is on, right? And the line in the sand has been drawn, and corporations, again, know where their bread is buttered. They know what, and they're up against the wall, so to speak. The wall was really just Lena Khan saying that, you couldn't do anti-monopolistic or monopolistic practices. And they were like, no, we never want that. And so they've made their choice. And you see that in all the tech CEOs attending Trump's inauguration, to which they donated hefty sums. And obviously you see that in Elon Musk. I mean, they have chosen a side. They don't care about, and it was always pandering when it comes to, empty identity politics or having black stories on Amazon's splash page for Black History Month, or Target having, products made for...
A rainbow flag.
Yeah, exactly. Or rainbow flags. It was all for show. And now push comes to shove. No, thank you. They would like their tax breaks, and they would like you to not have a minimum wage raise. And so it's it. And so that's why I'm saying, like, they've chosen their side. What side are we going to choose? Let's stop flitting in the middle. And I agree. We have to support Current Affairs. We have to support the Bitchuation Room. We have to support Zateo. We have to support these places that are doing actual, also real journalism. Opinion's great, but doing the work is also critical. So, so I mean, I didn't expect this, Nathan. Like, I didn't expect the media to completely cave, but also we're in a very different media landscape than we were in 2016. Yeah. Right? Obviously the tech companies got into entertainment and streaming. They have taken down some of the cable networks in a way. So it's far worse than it was in 2016.
And as coercive pressure is brought to bear against journalists, which Trump has made it clear that he's going to do, the mildest thing is going to be banning them from the press room, but it could get much worse. You have people like Dan Bongino, who's just been appointed to the FBI, who said things like, essentially power is the only thing that matters. He said the executive should be the judiciary, basically, like the president should take the role of judges. Donald Trump himself has said, if you're saving the country, you're following the law. So basically, like, my word is law. And
Kash Patel said that, we're going to go after journalists either criminally or civilly, but somehow we're going to do it. I mean, these are sycophants, too. It's not like they're just saying this. That's the other thing. Like, Kash Patel, Bongino, like, they're not just like, oh, yeah, we're going to go after journalists in order to get positions in the White House. No, they're, like, full-on fanboys. They're psycho.
Yeah, and when they do it, we know that a lot of people are going to roll over. A lot of companies, we've already seen a lot of companies that have just paid up. Even was it CBS who Trump sued them, and they're just like, oh, here's some money, here's some money, here's some money. Please don't sue us.
I mean, I have just have no words. It's like it's not like they don't have the money. It's not, you know what I mean? They don't have. It's not like they don't have the money to fight it. They're choosing not to. They're just simply choosing not to. And again, it's the bottom line. It's the bottom line. And you like to think that somehow there's still media companies out there that care about truth telling and reporting, and they actually don't. I mean, like, AP is maybe the only one that has stood up and said, I would like to call things what they are, Gulf of Mexico. But it's absolutely, it's wild. I mean, so the crisis of legitimacy is not just the Democratic Party. It is the media establishment. And Fox News is just like, I mean, remember when Fox News was on the ropes for a little bit after Jan 6, during the Dominion lawsuits? Right. Everyone was like, uh-oh, I guess the all the false, the peddling of false information has a consequence. Nope. We're like pigs in shit now.
the Gulf of America thing was a real kind of obedience test, right? Where it's like, if Trump says the sky is green, will you comply? And it turns out that a lot of these supposedly woke these corporations that are ideologically infested with Marxism, as the right would have it. Oh no! Immediately, if Trump says, actually, you have to call the Gulf of Mexico something that it isn't, Google Maps is like, yes, Mr. Trump, it's the Gulf of America. It's Google. That's
I mean, the joke was made
corporations.
before, but yes, we're allowing the Gulf. We're allowing a Gulf to transition, but we won't allow people to transition. It's incredible.
Yeah, I thought the principle was things are what they are. You can't change the name. You can't change the name of things.
You just wokeified the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, well, I mean, the hypocrisy is it turns out that they never cared about cancel culture either, because now it's all like, oh, we need to fire people for X, Y, and Z. Chris Rufo every day is like, look at this federal employee. They said a pro-trans thing. They should be fired.
Yeah.
And it's like, but what happened to like, don't fire people for their political opinions. Oh, you just meant don't fire people for having my political opinions.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to say. I do feel like we've also have reached the limitations of talking about democracy, is in peril. I think that was a losing strategy for Democrats in the election. Because, and this is what I wanted to say, because it's been bopping around in my head, is like, America's had like this STI, of like oligarchy, right? And we've had it for a long time. It's been festering, and we sort of kept it under control. We had access to our meds and our ointments and things like that. So like the flare-ups weren't so big. Now we've got full-blown oligarchy, but we've been sick for a very long time, all right? We had a lot of unprotected sex with a lot of rich people. The point is like, we've walked ourselves down this path, right? When you think about a billionaire buying a president, like 30 years ago or 20 years ago, you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, overturning Citizens United, allowing corporations to donate endless money through, back channels, dark money, etc. That makes sense. All of this makes sense. Like, none of this doesn't make sense. And the Democratic Party has been part of that. And again, by trying to meet folks in the middle, by trying to appease corporations. And now you've got Ruben Gallego, newly minted senator, who's going to fundraise with Mark Andreessen and other tech CEOs who are deeply invested in crypto. It's just like that. That is a losing strategy. The answer isn't, we need our feudal tech lord to back our, version of a Trump. That is obviously not the answer. The
head of the DNC said that, the good billionaires. We're going to have the good billionaires. And it's
I mean, that was before he was elected. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know, Nathan. I am in a moment of like, I'm not sure the Democratic Party has what it takes.
Yeah,
I'm very deeply concerned that it does not.
Well,
and I don't say that as someone who's like, we need to completely abandon. And everyone who talks about the Democratic Party, they're a sellout. No. Those are people who also hate me online. But I just think that there's a real reckoning, and I don't know if it's happened.
Certainly, if they follow the James Carville strategy of don't do anything, I think it's pretty clear they're not going to meet the moment with that. You mentioned crypto. I mean, there's a really egregious example of and in fact, Harris let the crypto lobbyists get to her, and her plan for Black America was like involved like promoting cryptocurrency.
That's right.
And the crypto people were like, just the mildest regulation, which was like, don't do scams. They were outraged by, and now it's, oh no, sorry, you can do scams, you can do whatever. You can just take, and there's a real, crypto is a space where it's really about like, can you trick ordinary people into giving you their money so you can steal it. And that's what the Trump even made a coin, a meme coin. And it was just, can I take all of my MAGA supporters and can I fleece them for as much of their money? Can I make money off of their faith in me? And he did, and he stole a bunch of their money. And
then the president of Argentina tried the same, and they're like, we're going to impeach you. And he was like, oh man, but that guy did it.
I thought you could just do a meme coin and take everyone's money. And that was a thing.
Like,
now.
No, we actually have better checks and balances.
Like, in Argentina, people are going to impeach you for that shit because it's a crime.
Because it's a crime. Well, I mean, this is the thing that I think Democrats also are missing: money out of politics, money out of politics, money out of politics, money out of politics. And any Democrat that's not seriously saying that is not worth their salt and should not be trusted.
But I didn't hear anyone calling for Trump's impeachment over the Trump coin. It's just like treat that as normal.
Perfect example.
It's
Exactly.
like, well, he just stole a bunch of money from people.
Yeah.
It's not high crime and misdemeanor. You're not going to use that. Like, yeah, obviously you're not going to successfully remove him from office because Republicans in power. But like, make an issue of it.
Absolutely.
Don't just let it pass by as Trump being Trump.
I know. No, it's wild. You're exactly right. I mean, that's of all the things. And the other thing is like, yeah, you're standing up for his supporters who are getting fleeced by him. But yes, that was like the day of the inauguration, and so much stuff was flying at everyone, and then there was planes that were literally not flying.
Right.
And so yeah, it kind of got lost in the sauce. But you're like, no, but this is still. I mean, I don't know what to say, Nathan, anymore. It's everything is just a projection from the right to, you remember, Hunter Biden, Burisma, meme coin.
Yeah,
it's beyond parody.
We're just taking your money in the background. We're just picking your pocket, and they're pretty open about it. You know, the great CoffeeZilla, who investigates this stuff, was like, had his head in his hands, and he's like, "This is the most egregious thing I've ever seen." This Trump coin.
It's still around, right? It's like it hasn't. Did he end it? Because Millet, like...
I don't think he ended it. I think people are still hoping it's going to come back.
Right. The Millet problem was it was like, okay, but you can't then cash in 48 hours. You've got to at least have it go for like 6 months.
Yeah. All right, well, look, I mean, to conclude here, okay, we've outlined that everything is dire and dark, but I'm trying. But one of the things about you and one of the things about current affairs is that we are not doomers. We are not people who are naturally bleak. You have an effervescent personality. You are a comedian. You tell jokes. You have fun. You have joie de vivre, which we try and have.
I don't know if I have joie de vivre, but yes,
too. So I think one of the things that I like about what you do is you exemplify how as we move forward in this fight, we can do so with a bit of showmanship, with a bit of entertainment, with a bit of joy.
100%. We cannot take ourselves. We can't take ourselves nor the opposition too seriously. I really think, because you know what? It's not just about mocking them. It's about having fun in the resistance and having fun doing this. And if we all, again, like the right loves Trump because he takes a piss out of everything. And while all of that is at the expense of vulnerable people, it's like we also need to have fun. The left does need to laugh. It's always been my thing. The left needs to take itself far less seriously, even in these dire times. And going against these douchey clowns is a perfect way to do that. So if anyone is listening who's in the Sacramento area and you do want some joie de vivre, I'm going to be at the Punchline in Sacramento on Sunday, March 16th. So you guys should come out. Me and my husband, Matt Lieb, who does the podcast Bad Hasbara. It'll be great. And then May 7th, if you're still listening, I'll be at Cobb's Comedy with Matt in San Francisco.
Well, sadly that was very far from New Orleans, but I strongly encourage everyone to come out and see you and the great Matt Lieb. So we thank you for your work, Francesca Fiorentini, and we thank you for coming on Current Affairs today to discuss it with us.
What a fun discussion. Thanks, Nathan.
Thanks for watching. This video is a product of Current Affairs Magazine, the country's leading independent left print magazine based here in New Orleans, Louisiana. Go to currentaffairs.org to find out more about us, and currentaffairs.org/subscribe to subscribe to our absolutely gorgeous bi-monthly print edition. Get it in your mailbox. You can also subscribe to the Current Affairs News Briefing, the Current Affairs Podcast, or you can subscribe to our digital edition. Current Affairs is entirely reader-supported. We have no ads. We have no corporate backers. We depend on you. So please consider purchasing a subscription or making a donation to Current Affairs today. We are a 501c3 non-profit organization, and your donations are tax-deductible to the extent allowable by law. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.